Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so the first thing everybody was talking about this morning was the potential Hulk buff, and it does look quite exciting, I'm not going to lie, but obviously it is important to keep in mind that this is still beta and it all could be subject to change. So if he makes his way to the game the way he is right now, I do think he's going to be quite a good champion, because there are tons of value in a science champion that can inflict a ton of debuffs and do a ton of damage quickly, especially because science class typically is not known to be the nuke champion class, and Hulk would be a legitimate high damage dealing champion. So let's break him down the way he is. I've taken screenshots of his abilities. There is one bit that I'm missing, but I'm going to explain that later. Well, and we're going to start with his signature ability. Well, when Hulk enters Gamma Rage or he strikes the opponent with heavy attack while it is active, he gains an unstoppable passive for 0.45 seconds, gain up to some physical resistance and crit resistance while unstoppable based on missing health. Potencies for both are reduced by 50% against skill champions. Long story short, I think it's a bad signature ability, or at the very least the fact that it's not mandatory or necessary. I think you will be able to perfectly fine use your Hulk without signature ability, so by the looks of it, it doesn't matter too much. Now, he still maintains his immunity to poisons. He doesn't gain any other new immunities, but he has up to 80% degeneration resistance when he is in his Gamma Rage mode. So that's kind of neat, but, you know, we'll leave it there. He does gain up to 50% extra attack rating based on his missing health, but that isn't kind of like the only way he gains extra damage and attack now, and losing health has some other benefits, but I don't think is quite mandatory. So moving on to the next bit, though, here we can see that aside from the degeneration resistance, also when striking an opponent inflicted with a stun effect, reduce their combat power rate by 20%. Potency is doubled well in Gamma Rage, so by 40% combat power rate reduction. That's quite nice. That's one of the reasons why I like Titania as much, just because you can be ever so more aggressive than you would be able to be in a regular fight. I don't think it's the most powerful thing with the 20 and 40% respectively, but I do think it's a nice bonus to help you be more and more aggressive. So I do quite like that. Moving on to the next clip here, we're going to start with the Furies. So you can get up to 20 Furies, and you basically just need to hit the opponent or get hit in order to gain them. You have 50 to 80% chance to gain Fury passive based on your missing health, and also each Fury passive gives you about 300 some attack rating, which I believe is about 10% or 8% of his attack, but obviously you can get up to 20. In most cases, you will seemingly enter rage at 15 or before. And also, they are paused until you enter Gamma Rage, and then they fall off one at a time every 2 seconds, so they can last for quite a while, and he will have quite a lot of modified attack bonus there. Also, it's unaffected by ability accuracy. Also, obviously, when struck, you have a chance to gain Fury, and when struck, if Hulk loses more than 10% of his missing health, you gain 5 Furies. This will also make him quite a dangerous opponent to fight against, but I do think he's primarily going to be an offensive champion, kind of like an offensive nuke. So moving on to the next bits that we already covered here with those Furies. While Gamma Rage is active, you also pause all of your trauma, physical vulnerability debuffs. Oh, one second, I think this is going to be better. Yeah, whilst your Gamma Rage is active, you pause all your trauma and physical vulnerability debuffs, and that will matter a lot, because you will be able to get basically like 20 traumas, 20 physical vulnerabilities on opponent, because whilst you are in your rage mode, every time you strike the opponent, when you would gain a Fury, instead you place physical vulnerability on the opponent, and when Gamma Rage ends when you run out of Furies, basically. So if you enter Gamma Rage with 15 Furies, your Gamma Rage lasts for 30 seconds, and then you're going to have some 10-second cooldown as a bare minimum. There is additional bit of text that's missing here, that you can enter your Gamma Rage early by landing a heavy attack. Landing a heavy attack will also stun the opponent by 2 seconds, and as long as you have at least 5 Fury buffs, you will enter basically gamma rage manually, and that's something for shorter fights, because otherwise you pretty much end up building to 2+ bars of power. At that time you have your pretty much 15 furies active, you enter gamma rage, drop a massive level 2, and then shenanigans start. And his level 1 at the moment is the biggest source of discussion, because all of the shenanigans really start from his level 1 here. The last hit inflicts a stun debuff for 4 seconds, and it is guaranteed stun. Durations increased by 100% whilst in gamma rage. So when you add in, you get 8-second stun, which is incredibly long stun. Then each time this stun activates, it reduces duration by 40% until the next time Hulk enters gamma rage. So it means you can stun lock opponents, but it is going to be, consecutively shorter and shorter stun. But typically the entire point is that you should still be able to nuke pretty much whatever you want, because with the initial stun duration, plus your stupefy and everything else, you get close to a 10-second stun, which will let you land like 3-4 combos, which will let you throw another level 1, which will let you land a combo or 2, which will likely let you throw another level 1, and which point you will be able to land a combo, and then let's say use your striker, and then land another combo, and opponent should be pretty much dead. Any reasonable fight length opponent should be dead at that point. Now, special attack 2 inflicts trauma debuff for 3 seconds. Remember, if you activate this whilst you are in rage, all of these are paused for up to 30 seconds basically, and these traumas deal additional 5% of the damage recently dealt as a burst physical damage. Now this is going to synergize extremely well with the Hulk relic itself, because every time you deal physical damage that's non-hit damage, you basically do even more burst damage. So Hulk is going to work very well with his own relic. And then on top of it, obviously, still, when you have like 15 of these active on the opponent, that means that you do another 75% of your hit damage, plus you keep stacking physical vulnerabilities on your opponent, so your hits do more damage, so your bursts do more damage, and he works as a really, really, really effective nuke champion. Now, level 3, in most cases, I don't think majority of the people will necessarily use it in vast majority of the fights, but the point is, if gamma rage is not active, you gain 10 fury passives. If gamma rage is active, you inflict a physical vulnerability debuff, reducing physical resistance by 8600, which is quite massive. And again, this is paused, so if you get to your gamma rage as you are at 3 bars power, drop that, you can do insane amount of damage with that 30-second window there. So ultimately, what do I think of Hulk? I do think he looks quite similar to Juggernaut, not the heaviest champion in terms of utility specifically, because the only conceivable bits of utility he really has is the poison immunity, access to a whole bunch of debuffs, which would synergize with some of the nodes, which would synergize with Despair Mastery, stuff like that. But trauma and physical vulnerability debuffs, in essence, are kind of null and void debuffs. They don't do anything aside from giving you more damage. For instance, both trauma and physical vulnerability could quite easily be replaced with like a single fury buff or some attack increase or something like that. It's not like they actually adjust the situation of the fight. Now, on the flip side, obviously, because it is a science champion that inflicts a lot of debuffs, means he will work with a ton of science nodes, means he will be able to do a ton of damage, and that is going to be the most important thing. And the key factor of Hulk, and why I'm kind of fearful for this buff version of him, is the fact that you would be able to go for about 15 to 20 seconds and deal several 100,000 damage without opponent having an opportunity to input anything. Basically, who you're fighting or what the AI behaves or any of their abilities largely wouldn't really matter, because you would just keep pounding at your opponent whilst they are stunned, then you throw level 1 and they're stunned still, and then you keep pounding while they're stunned, and then you do the striker thing, and you would be able to do several 100,000 damage whilst the opponent has zero chance to respond. And for those of you who do not understand how overpowered and broken and busted it is, it's basically why Quake is quite as strong as it is. It's basically why Dr. Doom is a dominant character as he is, because Dr. Doom minimizes opponents' inputs or ability to respond to anything he does. Once you put a champion in Doom cycle, that's pretty much it. You got level 3, you do your medium, triple light, double medium combo level 1, and then you either just, block, and that's one place where opponent can respond to anything you have done so far, or just go for level 2 and do a ton of damage. And the entire point of it is that you're in utter control of the fight. And this is a very, very kind of like similar situation where opponent just has very little to no chance to do anything once they're stunned. So we'll see if Kabam leaves it as is or changes it. I could see it going either way. If they leave Hulk as is right now, I would definitely take him to rank 3 minimum, probably rank 4. Because, as I said, his build is kind of similar to Juggernaut in the sense where you amass these bunch of smaller effects that also work as, you know, relatively small fury buffs, and then you just go and nuke stuff down with a ton of damage. In case of Hulk, again, the upside of his kit is that he will work extremely well with all of the science nodes in majority of the metas. There is a relic that's going to work extremely well with him. And ultimately, he does look like a fairly straightforward, simple champion to play, but extremely effective in terms of damage. And again, one of the reasons why I personally am looking forward so much to getting my hands on Spot is the fact that Spot is a science nuke type champion, and science typically doesn't have that. Now, don't get me wrong, science is my favorite class, and I really love science champions, but in general, when you look at science champions, we have like Mr. Negative, great champion, but, you know, hardly the sprinter of the class. And then we have Mr. Fantastic, insanely versatile, but one of the slower, you know, not necessarily slower, but definitely kind of like middle of the pack when it comes to fight finishing speed. And then we have like She-Hulk, who needs ramp up, and then we have, you know, Scorp. Scorp's kind of a bit of an exception. Scorp's quite fast, especially if synergized, but in general, majority of the champions in science class do require quite elaborate setup or a ramp up, and kind of like trying to get where they're going. And I think that Hulk would potentially have one of the quicker ones and one of the kind of more bursty ways to finish out fights. So personally, I do definitely see a ton of potential there for Balgrons, for instance, especially when it comes to dealing with these Mystic champions, because being poison immune and doing a ton of physical damage means he should probably be amazing for like Man-Thing. He should be able to deal with Rintra and a whole bunch of different champions. So ultimately, I do think that this version of Hulk's buff looks extremely nice. And I look forward to it coming to the game. Now, keep in mind, it is still going to be quite a long while. Because this buff is meant to arrive in the game in March update. And it could change drastically till then. And the most important thing to keep an eye out for will definitely be that level 1 stun. Because it's guaranteed and you can chain up on it, and with the rest of the damage capabilities it could be something extremely powerful. And then again, I would absolutely love for OG Hulk to be crazy good, so fingers crossed, I suppose. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the